Okay, let's talk about some of the realities that nobody talks about when you're in your post-grad life. So it's been a year since I've graduated from college and some things have changed. I'm married now, I own a home, I'm a dog mom, I work from home full time, and I also own my own business. So let's break these categories down and kind of discuss what nobody really tells you about the transition from being a college student to being a full-time homeowner, full-time wife, and just taking care of yourself. Now, we're talking about the transition from being a student to no longer having the responsibility of getting up for an 8 a.m. class or having assignments or anything like that, or professors holding you accountable. That was something that I had to get used to very, very quickly because I was so used to deadlines. I was so used to people being like, you need to get this done, or we have a group project, sending you a text, or hey, let's grab coffee and work on this, or work on our projects, or work on our papers. Don't have that anymore. Grabbing coffee has turned into co-working with friends, and just trying to achieve business goals. So I think the biggest transition with that was turning off my student brain and turning on my adult brain, which nobody prepared me for. Everyone says, you're going to be paying bills, you're going to be in the real world, you have a big girl job, all of those things, but they never really tell you what that actually means. And in my opinion, it just means going from other people holding you accountable to holding yourself accountable. Luckily, I have my husband to help me out with accountability, but sometimes, he chooses not to be accountable. I choose not to be accountable, and we have free will. So that can definitely turn into us not wanting to do anything. Just like today, we decided to take a nap in the middle of the day instead of cleaning. And that's just what it is. So the next thing is marriage. Marriage is different for everybody, so this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. I got married at 23, which a lot of people said that was not the right decision, but also I had to realize that I'm living my life for me, creating my own family, stepping into the things that I believe that God has centered and driven me towards for the purpose that He has outlined for my life. And I met my husband when I was no longer looking for a relationship. I had spent about 3 years being single, and then all of a sudden God finally said, here's your husband. And it's been an amazing journey. We are two peas in a pod. We communicate well. If I could give you any advice that has not only strengthened our marriage, but also helped me give advice to other newer wed couples, it's meet weekly. Go over your finances. Finances are one of those number one things that people will end marriages and relationships and things over. Your finances matter. You're not going to be able to have a strong relationship without actually talking about that. A lot of our parents make it seem like the finances and things like that all just clicked one day because we didn't learn it in high school. Do your research, read books on finances, talk to someone. If you need to get a financial advisor, go to the bank and talk to someone. A lot of the things that we think are just supposed to magically come to our mind don't. You have to educate yourself on your own, and that's something that I've noticed in post-grad life is education doesn't stop. Knowledge is power. So meeting weekly is one of those things that I definitely would say is important. Still dating each other, date each other no matter how long you've been together, no matter how long you've been married. Date your partner all the time, because you're constantly going to be with someone who is evolving just like you are. So whoever they were year one is not who they're going to be year 5, and that is one of the most interesting things I've seen. My husband and I are 6 years apart age-wise, and I see the maturity level in him and the maturity level in myself, and just where he was when we first started dating to how he is now as a married couple, and the responsibilities that he's taken on and the responsibilities that I've taken on. So dating each other has definitely helped because we're navigating our ever-changing personalities. So I would definitely encourage you to do that. And I think just communicating is the biggest thing. I know that sounds like a cliche, but the more you communicate, the easier it is to discover what your partner needs. and making sure that you're not over giving in one area and lacking in another area, making sure that you're spending time intentionally figuring out how you guys can meet in the middle, because at the end of the day, you're a team. Whether you have children or not, you're a team. And just doing things, find new things to do. Don't always do the same thing because it'll get stale. You don't want your marriage to feel stale, especially if you're young. Be adventurous, go out, try new things, have new experiences, because these are the things and the memories that you're going to look back on to tell your children, if that's the route that you choose to go. Also, those are the things that you're going to tell your family members when you're sitting around the Thanksgiving table and just talking about different experiences, and talking to your friends who may get married later on in life. Be like, this is the advice that I have to give you. One of our friends got married, and that was something that they asked us was, what advice do you have for a strong, healthy marriage? And they got married a year apart from us, and we had learned a lot in that first year to be able to tell them and give them advice to help them thrive. So the next thing I wanted to touch on is being a homeowner. A lot of people told me not to purchase a home at 23 years old. This was something that we chose to do just because this is the city that my husband is from, and this is where I felt the most comfortable, and this is where I felt like planting roots while I was young was a good idea. My in-laws live here, and it makes me feel very comfortable knowing that I have somewhere I can call home that's my own. If I could go back, I definitely would have rented so that we could have bounced around to different areas. But this is something that is a learning experience for us, because we're learning what we like, what we don't like, what our stipulations will be for our next home, because your first home doesn't have to be your forever home. It's a starter home. Make sure you find a really good realtor, make sure you find a really good lender, look up your options, look up your likes, your dislikes, and make lists for what you want versus what you need. Especially if you're planning on having kids, like look up the area, look up the schools, things like that. Things you never really consider when it's just you as a single person, or you in just a relationship with you being another adult. But those things matter. What kind of community do you want to have? Do you want to be able to go knock on your neighbor's door and say, hey, I need some sugar? Or do you want to be left alone? Look at the area and see how that works for you. Also do your research on home maintenance. That's something that we didn't really know, so we're learning as we go, which is really cool, just because now I feel a lot more knowledgeable about these things. And don't be afraid to ask other people questions. You don't have to take their advice. You can receive it and then take it with a grain of salt, or you can receive it and use it. It's completely up to you post-grad what you do and what you choose to take on. And that's something that I've noticed with setting boundaries with different people and setting boundaries with different situations, is you can take on any information you want without actually having to use it. So with home ownership, I definitely would say you can collect the information, but don't take everybody's advice, because not all advice is good advice. The next thing I wanted to talk about is setting boundaries with friends, family, and finding balance with your new position in life post-grad. The people that were in college that are still in college when you graduate, you may still hang out with them depending on if you stay in your college town. It's okay if you don't. And if you're like me and you got married fresh out of college and you have single friends, it is hard to balance. Do I stay friends with them? Do I stay going out with them and having fun and things like that? That's also part of the communication factor with your partner, is how comfortable are they with you with hanging out with single friends. My parents and people that are older than me have all said, you know, when you become married, your friends are usually other married couples, and that's very true. A lot of my friend group is just married couples, and we all hang out just because we have partners. Our partners have similarities, and we're able to find commonalities a little bit easier. I've noticed with my single friends that it is kind of hard. I'm just giving them life advice for the most part to hopefully see them in a happy and healthy marriage in the future. And then my friends that are in long-term relationships, I give them advice when I can, but I also don't want to be that overbearing friend that constantly is telling them what to do because I don't have all the answers. I'm still figuring it out for myself. So finding that balance post-grad of just what your relationships are going to look like is super important, and making sure you give yourself some grace when you're looking for those boundaries and setting them up, because you're not expected to know it all. Life is all about learning. Like I said, knowledge is power, and you 100% want to make sure that you're not setting yourself up to feel like you constantly have to know everything, because we just don't. I learn new things all the time, and I'm like, wow, I feel like I should have learned that a long time ago, but I'm glad that I know it now. The last thing that I wanted to touch on is being a business owner. This is something that's a little bit on the newer side. I opened my social media management company, and it's just me currently with a little bit of assistance from a friend. And give yourself grace. That's all I can really tell you, is give yourself grace. Make sure you allow people to support you, but don't allow people to dictate what you do. Your business is just that. It's yours. How you run it, who you choose to hire, fire, who you choose to work with, all of those relationships and all of those things are up to you. You don't have you don't have to make sure you fit a certain mold. You don't have to do what other businesses are doing just because that's what they do. It works for them. Who you work with is up to you. If you have specifications and you have reasonings for wanting to work with certain people, put your foot down and let people know that. Your ideal client will show up. And if they don't, it's okay. But you are doing something that is really hard. There's a lot of businesses out there. It's okay if you haven't figured it out yet. Like I said, it's a learning curve. Knowledge is power. So the more you learn, the more you feed your soul, the more you feed, your brain with information in your field, the better you'll be in the end. So I hope that this helped you out with a little bit of the post-grad blues, giving you just some information and some insight on knowing that post-grad life is a whirlwind. It's up, it's down. It doesn't have to be something that's super scary. Just take it one day at a time and know that you're in the same boat as a lot of the rest of us. We're just figuring it out. And eventually you'll look back 20, 30 years from now and be like, post-grad life really wasn't that bad. So I encourage you to keep pushing.